Sorry about that. We'll have to restart that at the appropriate time, and it isn't there yet. So, welcome to today's Tax Talk. I am the producer of the show. I take credit for all of that. My name is Attorney Stephen Leahy. We're going to talk about today is Wednesday. It is October 20th, year of our Lord 2021, and yesterday was Crypto Tuesday, so we didn't talk about the IRS. But on last Monday, we talked about the Treasury. There was a op-ed, more of a in the Treasury Department, on the Treasury Department website. They have another one today, and they're all doubling down. And you may have heard now that this bank reporting is really getting to be an issue. People are focusing on it, and I didn't know the bank reporting would be become such a scandal. I wouldn't say it's a scandal, but let's say it's a saga for sure. It's every day there's something new, and there until it gets passed, and this will continue until it gets passed. But I wanted to that's what we're going to talk about today. Won't you join us? So welcome to the show. Again, today's Tax Talk. And our topic today is the Treasury doubles down, right? So they are intent on getting this bank reporting requirement in the law and get it passed. And they are using every tool in their arsenal to do that. I think a lot of it, they're being disingenuous, but that's something we can, that's a matter of opinion on a lot of this. But let's talk let's go right to this data sheet, because I should say the fact sheet. So let's go into that, because this is the Treasury doubles down. And the fact sheet: tax compliance proposals will improve tax fairness. Well, first off, I don't know if the Department of Treasury's job is for fairness, right? What is fairness after all? And fairness while protecting taxpayer privacy. Well, the whole uproar about the bank reporting is the invasion of taxpayers' privacy. So let's see how they're going to protect taxpayers' privacy and improve tax. So let's go to the story. This is a press release released yesterday, October 19th, and so here it is. Rates of tax compliance, and this is their argument, and again, I will comment along about why I object or disagree with some of these points that they make. Rates of tax compliance in the United States are based in large part on the ways taxpayer accrued income. Those who receive their incomes that is reported on by a third-party source, such as wage earners, exhibit near perfect compliance rates on their salaries, since the payer of the income also reports the income paid as a deduction. By contrast, taxpayers who accrue income in hard-to-trace ways exhibit much lower rates of compliance. They don't know this for a fact. They are basing this on some of their audits, and those who audit are obviously more likely to have some problems than others. And so then they extrapolate those numbers and say, well, see, from our audits, we think that 15% of the people don't comply. And again, that's a guess. They don't know. It's a guess. But that's, of course, the larger the number, the more it supports their position. with no information that the IRS can use to detect noncompliance. Well, Americans, it's a law, right, that we have to comply. And so when they're saying, well, that we don't know if they're complying. Well, you have, in our system of government, you're supposed to have probable cause that somebody's committing a crime before you have an access to private information. Ultimately, the difference in compliance has led to two-tiered system of tax administration in the U.S., whereby taxes are mandatory for wage earners and beneficiaries of federal programs like Social Security recipients, while other taxpayers have far more discretion over whether they pay their taxes. Actually, everybody has the same obligation to pay tax on all income from whatever source. That's the law. And what they're saying here is we already invade everybody's privacy for wage earners, and that we get near 100% because we're all over them and we won't let them, and we invade their privacy every day. And because we invade their privacy and we can't invade some others' privacy, the only fair thing to do is invade everybody's privacy. That's the only fair thing to do, is violate everybody's privacy. And again, I think that's a slippery slope, in my opinion. Ultimately, so. Additionally, since less visible income streams accrue disproportionately to higher income, it is. The only way to ensure that upper income taxpayers pay what they owe is by giving the IRS the resources, information required to close the tax gap. I've told you many times that the tax gap is their boogeyman that they've been using. Oh, we got to get the tax gap down. We got to get the tax gap down. And again, it's a guess. They don't know what the tax gap is. As I said, they always reported it at 150 billion, 200 billion. And now this year they're telling us it's $1 trillion, 4 times what it's ever been reported, or at least 3 times what it's been reported. And so I don't know where those numbers come from. Again, the higher number supports their allegations or their position that everybody's a cheater. And the only fair thing to do is to stop the cheaters. And again, they don't know this. They don't have that. It's a guess. Okay. So Congress reviewed the administration's proposed tax compliance reform released in conjunction with the fiscal year. In response to considerations about scope, it has crafted a new approach to include an exemption for wage and salary earners and federal program beneficiaries. Under this revised approach, such earners can be completely carved out of the reporting structure. Who? Those who already give them the information are carved out of the structure. I'm reading it again because I've read this already, so I don't understand. Under this revised approach, okay, so this is a well-reasoned modification. For American workers and retirees, the IRS already has this information and salary, income, and federal benefits they receive. The Treasury Department is supportive of Congress's tailoring of the compliance regime to shed light on income that is unreported to the IRS presently. Proposed tax, I'm going back up to the top. Congress reviewed the administration's proposed tax compliance reform released in conjunction with this year's budget. In response to considerations about scope, it has crafted a new approach to include an exemption for wage and salary earners. Now, how would the bank know if you're a wage and salary earner? How would they know how to stop, who to stop? And actually, I don't, that's the first I've heard that. I haven't heard that from anybody. But again, whether it's if it's an invasion of privacy, it doesn't really matter if they only invade some privacy, some taxpayers' privacy, or all the taxpayers' privacy, right? And if it's not you, then they're coming after you next. How does the financial reporting proposal work? Financial institutions and banks will add just 2 additional numbers to the information that they already supply to taxpayers and the IRS: the total amount of funds deposited in the account and the total amount withdrawn over the course of the year. As I pointed out before, what the problem with this is when they look at those numbers, they can easily ask for all of it, right? So it's not just that. That's just the initial reporting. After they get those numbers, then they will ask for more. And that's the violation. It's a violation of privacy. So then the rationale for this reform is that the IRS can use this additional aggregate information to focus its enforcement efforts on the wealthy taxpayer. No, they're not. It's not just wealthy people. With an improved ability to identify tax evasion and to decrease audits of compliant taxpayers. misinformation. In the months since the administration compliance proposal was released, though these reforms have been subject to widespread mischaracterization. One prominent misconception concerns whether banks will have to report individual transactions to the IRS. The financial reporting proposal does not include reporting on individual transactions of any amount. Instead, banks would add two additional, as they already said. But how would this information be useful? And again, it doesn't really matter how it's useful. I always like that the analogy is, if we let the police come into everybody's home and look around, our crime rate would probably go down. And those who commit crimes are probably more likely not to commit crimes because they're under investigation or they're under scrutiny all the time, as all of us are with the IRS. But that doesn't mean somehow you don't have Fourth Amendment rights, because it would be better for the law enforcement, easier for law enforcement to find criminals if we violate their Fourth Amendment rights. And that's exactly what's at issue here. Even if they could catch every tax evader, it wouldn't be worth the price of our freedom and our privacy. It's just not. It's against our principles, and it's against the Constitution. Okay, so imagine this. This is one of my favorite examples. They've changed the example from last Monday because the last Monday example was $1, and now they made it to $10,000. Imagine a taxpayer who reports $10,000 in income, and again on Monday that the article was they reported $1, but it has 10 million, and it was only $1 million in inflows, in outflows. Now it says of flows in and out. See, they changed the language. You see how they do this, but it has $10 million of flows in and out. What says in the proposal and in the bill, it says inflows and outflows. It doesn't say flows in and out. Okay, so again, plural. It doesn't say one number. It doesn't say that of their bank account. Having this summary information will help flag the IRS with when high income people underreport their income and underpay their tax obligations. This will help the IRS target its enforcement activities. Again, that example is just ludicrous. It's not even helpful. A second misconception is that all Americans will be swept under the greater IRS scrutiny as a result of the compliance. In reality, many financial accounts are already reported to the IRS, including every bank account that earns at least $10 in interest. They just tell them what the interest is. They don't tell them what's in the bank account. They don't tell them the inflows and outflows. And all American workers, much more detailed information reporting exists. So again, here's the argument. We already invade everybody else's privacy. Why shouldn't we invade your privacy? Right? We already invade all their privacy. Why can't we do more? Why shouldn't we do more? It's not fair that we can invade their privacy and not do it more to them, because they're going to get their bank statements too, and others who they aren't invading their privacy right now. So again, it's a disingenuous argument. Under the current proposal, fiscal accounts with money flowing in and out that totals less than $10,000 annually are not subject to any additional reporting. Again, they're just changing this number to $10,000. But think about your own bank account. Does your bank account have more than $10,000 go in and out every year? Very few does. I asked my son, and he was in college, so he wasn't working. So he barely made $10,000. So, but he did make $10,000. So it would sweep him in too. But most of us working, $10,000, of course you're going to have $10,000 going in and out of your bank account. Of course you are. And that's almost everybody. I don't know. A third misconception concerns raising taxes on workers. It cannot be emphasized enough that this proposal does not involve raising taxes. No, it doesn't raise the tax rate. And yes, it's as I already mentioned on this. Okay, all income from whatever source is already taxable. So it's already taxable. So when they're saying, well, it doesn't raise taxes, that's true. So now here's my analogy also. Is it, the law says you're supposed to go 55 miles an hour on the Edens. Right? Most of the Edens is 55 miles an hour. If I go 56, should I get a ticket? If I go 57, should I get a ticket? If I go 60, should I get a ticket? Actually, that's exactly what they're saying here. Yes, every dollar that you get is taxable. But if I don't report a dollar, is that a crime? Is that wrong? Should we stop that? Should we give up all of our privacy so that dollar is also taxed, the 33 cents? I mean, at what point is it too intrusive to, if we pulled everybody off over that was going 56, and anybody in Chicago already knows this. If you're doing 6 miles an hour over now, they're giving you a ticket. How do you feel about that? You think that's fair? You think that's right? You think that's the way our laws ought to be interpreted? Well, the law says 35. You did 41. The law says 25. You did 31. Is that the way? Is that a fair prosecution of our laws? I'd say it isn't. This proposal was designed to ensure that taxpayers do not have to take any action at all. No, we already know everything, so you don't have to do anything. We'll get every dollar that we claim, whether it's true or not, because it's not. And when I'm a wage earner, it's pretty clear that all those wages are taxable. But anything goes in and out of my bank account, not clear that it's taxable, is it? If I get a gift from somebody and use their unbelievable numbers that they say, exaggerate or extremes. So my parents give me $100,000 as a gift. It goes in my bank account. Do I get audited for that? Do I have to explain to the IRS why my parents gave me $100,000, whether it's taxable or not? Is it any of their business? Why? I say no, it isn't any of their business. Ultimately, these efforts are focused on addressing tax evasion by shedding. And again, I'm going to go back to this. Should we give up all of our Fourth Amendment rights so we can lower crime? Is that where we are? Will it lower crime if we give up our Fourth Amendment rights? Absolutely, it will. And that's what they're talking about. We should give up our First Amendment rights because some people might misinform. What the government says is misinformation. Many would say that this is an opinion, and so is that the way we are now? That that we're going to give up our First Amendment rights because to stop any misinformation? I don't think that's really what the intent is. But it is important to clear about facts. Under the versions of the proposal before Congress, no additional information needs to be reported to the IRS about American workers. If this changed, it changed yesterday. And because they know that it's going under. And so they're trying to say, well, we're not going to invade your privacy today. So let us invade everybody else's privacy. We'll get to you tomorrow because that's what's going to come. You think that it's not, but it is. Any additional information needs to be reported to the IRS about American workers. Further, audit rates will not rise relative to recent years for any taxpayer who makes less than $4. How do they know that? Of course it will. Of course it will rise. Does that mean that then what they're doing here by reporting that anybody makes less than $400,000, if they find discrepancies in what's reported and what's not, they won't go after them and audit them? Of course they will. Oh, it just infuriates me. And again, here, the Democrats, here's my next story. Democrats pitch scale down U.S. bank tax reporting requirement. And this was reported yesterday, I believe, October 19th. But here's a story. Here's a story from a month ago that said Democrats to raise cap on Biden's IRS transaction because they pulled it out of the bill more than a month ago. And they said they were going to pull the $600 cap. So they haven't told anybody really about, so they keep going on the $600 cap. So right at the last minute, they can turn around and say, see, okay, we won't do a $600 cap. We're going to do let's do a $10,000 cap. And let's not do it to everybody. Let's do it to some people. See, and again, they've known this for over a month that this can't pass. But they keep going on about it. And now all of a sudden they're telling you, how they gave something up. And they didn't, because they gave it up over a month ago. But they keep pushing it. One more story. What's this story now? Oh, this is a story from the American Thinkers .com, AmericanThinker.com. And I thought it was interesting. Decoding the proposed new invasive IRS $600 bank reporting rule. The right to privacy, and I don't want to go into this, but I think it's important, some of this. The right to privacy is a fundamental human right in any democratic country. It is also recognized by the UN Declaration of Human Rights, the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights, and many other international and regional treaties. Beyond the laws and proclamations, the right to privacy is rooted in the citizen's inherent right to dignity. In a democracy, the state is subordinate to the citizen. Hence, the government must respect the rights and dignity of the citizen. The citizen has the right to withhold information that he or she deems unsuitable for public consumption, provided that the information is not related to any criminal activity. It doesn't have to always be highly sensitive salary or health records. A citizen may not want public to know that he or she, the history of the frivolous videos watched on YouTube. This is a right that cannot be violated. Confidentiality is closely related to privacy. While privacy pertains to the person, confidentiality pertains to information. The process of and the obligation to keep a transaction document private and secret, confidential. The right to withhold information, medical information from others. At the very top of this list among kinds of information that deserves to be confidential are bank records and financial transaction information. However, the new House Reconciliation Bill, we already know this is obviously highly invasive. When asked whether the IRS has a means to collect more information about taxpayers and bank accounts, including cash flows, well, of course they do. Right now, on every bank account that earns more than $10 a year in interest, the banks report the interest earned to the IRS. That's part of the information base that includes W-2s and reports of dividends and other income the taxpayers earns. So the collection of information is routine. And again, this goes back to my, just because they violate our rights all over the board, we should expand that violation of rights. If we expand that violation of rights, is that the end of it? Or is it just more? Is more coming down the road? Of course, more is coming down the road. The first and easiest way to increase tax revenues is by reducing tax rates and gratuitous regulations that encumber businesses. So what is the real objective? It is likely that the government will selectively apply this invasive law, not only to target groups that they consider their political challengers, but individuals as well. All the government has to do is dig through the transactions of groups they consider their adversaries, such as the Republican Party or President Trump's campaign or any major gun dealer. This will enable them not only to learn about the organization accepting the donations, but the individuals donating. And we've seen what this goes in California. When they release this information, people are canceled because they gave to a cause that others don't want. Quite soon, they can systematically target those donors in various ways. The government certainly has the wherewithal to do it. It must be remembered that under Obama, and this is the saga. Okay, so I'm not going to get into too much of that. I really want to read this article. I think it's important. I think you could go to the AmericanThinker.com and get a copy of that article. I think it's important. I think it's to read it. So go to AmericanThinker.com, read that article. I think it's important. We have the Right to Financial Privacy Act today. Let's keep that act. Let's object to this strenuously. Let's not let them pull a fast one on us. That they've known for months now that they couldn't get this passed. Yet it's only on the 11th hour that they come up and say, we're going to change it to this now. Why didn't they say that 30 days ago when they knew they couldn't get it passed? Because then people would be objecting to it more. Now they're trying to cut the objection low instead of having a vigorous debate about what's the proper role. Anyway, that's what I think. So I hope if you think the same way, then welcome. If you don't, you're welcome too. I appreciate that. I appreciate you watching. But so now remember, if you're fighting the IRS, the best thing to do is get a copy of my book, Deal with Your IRS Problem Today. Go to freeirsbook.com, get a copy of my book, Deal with Your IRS Problem Today. If you go there and you don't pay, if you pay, I ask for a small fee for shipping and handling. If you don't want to pay a physical book, put your name and number in. Don't give your credit card information, and I'll make sure you get a admission into our membership site that has every chapter in Word format, PDF format, audio format, and then a summary of each and every chapter by me in a video. So go to freeirsbook.com. Thanks so much. Remember, like and subscribe to our channel, to our site. We'd appreciate it. So thanks so much. Appreciate you spending the time with me here today, and look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.